Hello and welcome to North Star Stamper. I'm Susan Kramer. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Woodbury, Minnesota. Thank you for joining me today. Let me find myself on my computer to make sure everything looks good. But I have to remember, excuse me, to turn off the captioning. Otherwise, I'm reading the captions instead of talking to you. All right, so thank you for joining me. Today we're talking about to color or not to color. I thought that was kind of a funny title for my video today. So I used this bundle. It's going to be out next week, July 1st. It's part of the July online exclusive release, Fun for All. And there are dies. You can go back and look at that video when you're done with this one. And in using, especially the little scarecrow, I kept wanting to color him. So this one, I used watercolor pencils, and obviously lots of different colors, ink for my leaves. That one I didn't color. This one, I used a water painter and colored him in with ink from the lid of my ink pad. So a very fine tip is very much needed for these small little details. But I wanted to talk about this today in case you don't like coloring. I find coloring very relaxing. So when I go on a trip, I might stamp a whole bunch of an item of one stamp and then just take my water color pencils or something just to color them in. Or blends is another good idea. So I do have a list of ideas on just different things you can do to color, and maybe you have them all. Maybe it's time to add something to your stash. But on this one, my point was you don't have to color him a lot. If you don't like coloring, don't be afraid to get detailed stamps, because you can make a great project. And here I added a little bit of pink to his cheeks, and I colored the band on his hat, and that's all I did. I wanted the corn stalks to be the focal point more than anything. So to color or not to color, lots of ideas. I guess we'll just put them over there on a pile. So again, Fun for All is available July 1st. So in the video for this one, I used daubers to color my flowers. I stamped them in garden green, and then I added color with daubers, so that's kind of fun. I added colors to plain rhinestones with a blend, so that one has a few techniques. But what prompted me to make this video was this one. I just thought it was so funny. Hay there, and then we have bales of hay. So to get this interesting color, this is what I did. So when the set becomes available on Wednesday, they just used, it was probably Daffodil Delight, and then they stamped in pecan pie like I did here, and then they die cut it. There's a die that cuts this out. Easy enough to fussy cut if you need to. But I just thought that was kind of blah, and I wanted the different colors. So I thought I would demonstrate real quick how I got that. And maybe I'll leave this here so you can see. You can see I did it, I used the die, a die for my sentiment there too. So I used the wider brush, and then at first I was just making all my my samples, my ideas here with cheap cardstock, very cheap from Sam's Club. I'm sure it's available many other places too, and I'm talking cheap. This is, I don't know. You can look it up. Reach out to me if you really want to know what I'm talking about. But very, very inexpensive. When I send you cardstock, I do not send the cheap stuff. I send the good stuff. This is our thick basic white. So when I'm doing something with a water wash, I do want it thicker. Watercolor paper would be even better, especially if you want to play around and get colors. But yeah, so let me show you how I did this. And it doesn't look like much. Let's see here, this one. So I just added water from my brush here, and then just paint it on. And you don't have to be real precise. We'll do this one too. So when I did the cheap cardstock, it really pilled. And I know you can't tell, but it's not smooth at all. It's very rough. And sometimes maybe that's what you want for a bale of hay. That might be perfect. So I'm going to squeeze water out here and clean my brush a little bit. And then I used crushed curry and put some ink in here and just keep brushing. No rhyme or reason, just get some color on there. And I think it'll make more interesting bales of hay, or for my sentiment here. I did that too. And then to clean this off, I'm just going to squeeze water. Hopefully there's enough in there. Okay. Just to clean it, and I could switch to any other color with that. And let me grab, hopefully it's out here, pecan pie. You know what, maybe, oh, I don't have, oh, yeah. And then just, let's see, the bale of hay. And I'm not going to put it on the wet. I'm going to put it on the one I did the other day that's already dry. You could use, I think for these, I did use my heat tool to get that dry before I stamped on it. And instead of going like this so that I have stripes on there, I'm actually going to do it at an angle. And we can do a few of those. I think I'll make another card with the hay there. I thought that was funny. And maybe the other direction. And so I'll use the die cut to cut those out. It's just a little more interesting. Here, let me show you what it would look like if we just do it one color. So this is a little more interesting than that. You get just the golden glow on that one. So my idea here is just play around with your inks, and I have a few more ideas. Not necessarily about this, but this is what started it all. So put this away or I'm going to lose it, right? So that is that idea. So just cutting him out in different colors. Let me pull these guys back. These were, oh, I stamped on very vanilla. This is pecan pie. That's pecan pie. And there's crumb cake. So just stamping it in a different color. You could just use a blend to add a little bit of color to his bandana, or I thought it'd be fun to just color in his patches. That'd be kind of fun. So here are my ideas, and maybe I'll type this and put it in the description. So on colored cardstock, or even stamp on designer series paper, it'd be fun to play around and see what different things you could get from different parts of pattern paper. Water painters with a color wash, like I did with the hay. A dauber, like I did with the flowers. Direct to paper, and this is what I'm talking about. We'll get to this one in a minute. This is what I'm talking about with direct to paper. Just take an ink pad. Your ink spots, if you have those from Paper Pumpkin or a kit, would be perfect. So there's some crushed curry. And here's some golden glow, and I'm going to go from the other direction. That makes it kind of interesting. They are very similar in color. So, and we could even tone it down a little bit with some, if you press and go really slow, you get really thick color. So there's another thing you can just play with. Direct to paper. Ink from your pad, so you squish it. With the new ones, you can hear it kind of suction when the ink goes into your lid. And then use a water painter, or I don't know if I have yeah, I do. Or a blender pen to pick that up. Smaller brush would give you an easy way to do the details. This again would do the, you'd be able to do details with that. Water painter or blender pen, watercolor pencils, and again, it looks like you're melting it, but I blend my watercolor pencils with a blender pen. Soft pastels, I have them here in my craft area and I can't find them. When I find them, I will start using those again. And then blends are alcohol markers. There are probably other ideas. This is just the list I came up with off the top of my head. And I think this is most of what we offer right now. So I have a few more ideas. I played around with the Sunset Coast. Get that out of the way. The Sunset Coast, that's this one. So I also So I stamp, what I like to do is stamp the dark first. So I stamped the detail here, and then I stamped off, and then I did the arch with crumb cake. So that's what this is. So the detail was crumb cake, and the solid was crumb cake -1. So -1 means I stamped off first. This was pecan pie for the detail, and then pecan pie, and then I took ink. Let me grab a block here. I put ink on a bigger block, and then I spritzed it with water. So for some of these, and then I combined the water or the colors that way. So that gives it a little more interest. I just don't think this looks very realistic. And here again, I spritzed it with water and just picked up a variety of the colors together. So the detail was the pecan and crumb, and the solid image was pecan -1, and so -1 means stamped off and then stamp again. Here I use Pool Party and Coastal Cabana. I think I did it on my glass mat here. And you can see the two different colors, but then I wanted more of a watercolor wash look, so I spritzed it with water. Oh, that was the other thing I didn't talk about, was a spritzer. So I spritzed my ink on either your mat or a large, this one would be a good block to use. So put 2 colors on there, spritz it with water, and then use that as your ink pad before you put it down. And so it made some nice colors there. So play around with all these stamps. I've got a couple more. Stick with me. I thought it would be fun to color this leaf in different ways. So I just used Old Olive ink. I used Old Olive and Pretty Peacock with daubers. And then I did the same thing. Or this one looks half and half. I may have inked half of it and then the other half. And then I spritzed it with water. So ink on glass mat with water, and you get a nice watercolor background. So that would be really fun to use on a few places on your the background of a card. All right, one more, actually I have 2 more ideas. For the balloon festoon, solid images are really fun to do ink techniques with. So I have Pool Party and Bubble Bath. I just put it on my glass mat or on a block. And I just did half and half and just used it as an ink pad. Then I added water kind of to blend them together. Not good choice of colors because when they blend, they turn brown. But 2 shades of blue or a shade of blue and green would be kind of interesting with that. And then I tried it Strawberry Slush and Coastal Cabana just for some more vivid colors. And it doesn't stamp solidly because when you pick up the ink, it's different. But I kind of like the marbled effect. And then I added water to it, and that really blended it a lot. So different colors would have been a better idea for this idea. That's Balloon Festoon. That's one of my favorites. I'm doing lots of balloon birthday cards these days. And so as I was doing all those things, instead of cleaning up my glass mat with a paper towel or my rag, I would use this piece of cardstock, and I would pick up the ink. And that's where these colors all came from. You can tell I've got some greens and yellows and pinks going on. So what I did, using the Exciting Times, this comes with a bundle with the rounded rectangle punch. And it actually punches out the inside of that. So using all this mess, I think that's kind of cool. And then I would maybe just the leaves like we were just talking about behind that, or watercolor wash. So many ideas. And then this would be fun to put, use as a layer behind a sentiment. So that's what I've got for you today. Lots of ideas using ink. Ink you already have, and you might need another tool or 2. Water painters. Blender pen, a spritzer, and alcohol markers, I think, are the things. If you still have our Stampin' Write markers, you could do fun things with those as well. You could use marker on here, spritz it with water, and get some of those same effects. And here come all the ideas. I think I'm going to start stamping. So thank you for joining me. Happy stamping. And we'll bring these back out because they're fun to look at. My cards. So I'll put a link to the video where I made this card, we talked about the tassels on the corn. So thanks for joining me. Happy stamping. Have a great week. Bye.